Hello, welcome to Getting Started with Microsoft Project Operations. My name is John Michael Scott. I'm the CEO of Green Data, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the new features of the newest member of the project products at Microsoft. For our agenda today, we're going to talk about what this product is, what the most common use cases are, and we're going to get familiar with the project operations interface as well as go through some different demonstrations on how to use it. Project operations is built to enable organizations that are doing professional services either internally between different business units or externally with customers. The goal of project operations is to provide you an end-to-end experience from the sale and development of the opportunity around the project all the way through delivering and accounting for the project and doing business intelligence on it at the far end. Let's take a look at the different features. Okay, so we have the sales component in project operations. We're leveraging Microsoft Dynamics CRM Sales Hub to provide us all these features and to be able to track accounts and contacts at accounts and leads, opportunities, quotes, invoices, contracts, etc. All that's being handled by Microsoft Dynamics CRM. Additionally, we're going to be able to do project planning. That's going to be handled largely by Microsoft Project for the Web, fully integrated into the project operations experience. We're going to provide resource utilization, leveraging the schedule board and other componentry of field services, another major component of the Dynamics 365 platform. We're going to do team collaboration, again, back in Project for the Web. We're going to track time and expenses. Those are going to be leveraging project operations specific functionality. We're going to be providing project accounting. That's going to happen through integrations either to your existing ERP system, or if you're choosing to use the Dynamics stack, you can integrate with the finance and operations components of Dynamics 365. And finally, we're going to leverage for our business intelligence, the Power Platform, and we're going to leverage Power BI. We'll also see that there are business intelligence components that are directly integrated into the Dynamics experience. So you've heard me say Dynamics a few different times here. So what that means is that Microsoft Project Operations is a component or a significant feature area of the Microsoft Dynamics 365 experience. So who uses this? All right, obviously project managers. So the objective is that they should be able to use a very familiar and easy to use experience that allows them to do Gantt charts, that allows them to stack up resources against tasks, that allows them to create predecessor and successor relationships. But not only can you do a task grid that way, you can use the power of Project for the Web to be able to present that information in the form of a Kanban board, something that may be much more familiar with people who are used to keeping track of lists of activities and things like that. Possibly others may have used Planner before, or they may be using other Kanban boards in things like Atlassian Jira. The second major role is Resource Manager. The Resource Manager is going to be a first-class role in the system. Oftentimes in project management systems, resource managers are just left agreeing to or acquiescing to whatever the project manager has identified as far as the people they need to get the project done. In project operations, the resource manager receives booking requests, so requests for resources, chooses based on the available resources that they have who should be allowed to fulfill the booking request. This allows the resource manager to have a more clear picture against their utilization of the resources of the team members and to make better choices. The account manager also has a significant role because long before we get down into delivering the project, the account manager is concentrating on all of the sales activity, the opportunities, and describing all that out. And they work closely with the project manager, especially if you're doing a bottom-up estimate, to create a sales quote estimate. We also have the team members. The team members get to use the time and expense experience within Dynamics, and also they get to use the Kanban board experience or the grid views in Project for the Web in order to deliver on their activities. And moreover, things like keeping track of issues, keeping track of risks, these kinds of experiences are actually easy to customize, modify. You can create lists for contacts and other things. So really the team members can, again, also participate as first-class citizens, full collaborators in the project delivery experience. And of course, we mentioned the project accountant. Because the project accounting activity can be integrated tightly with our accounting system, our finance and operations system, particularly in the Dynamics 365 stack. It's possible for the project accountant to get up-to-date information all the time without having to chase it down. All the things that the project manager is signing off and approving in terms of time and expense, in terms of work completion, all of that flows automatically into accounting, so the accounting has a very good view of what to invoice, what to account and attribute against the budget, what to account and attribute against the revenues, etc. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into the demonstration. So you'll see that I'm sitting over here in Dynamics 365. It says at the top that I'm in project operations. We'll see that we are going to spend some time in the sales area, the projects area, and the resources area. First, in the sales area. So we see that we can have all of our accounts. Here are the active accounts in the system right now. You can see that recently Snazzy Cards has been added as a new account. Within the contacts, we can see that Snoopy Brown has been added as a new contact, and that Snoopy is a global product VP. Snoopy is also part of the Snazzy Cards account. So we'll go ahead and update that information just to give you an idea of how simple that is. Okay, now that we've identified Snoopy as part of Snazzy Cards, we'll jump down into the leads and opportunities. It may take a moment here for the update to occur, but while that update is occurring, I'm just going to go ahead and jump over into a different part of the experience so that we can, we're finished. Snazzy Cards is updated, so we'll go ahead and jump down into opportunities. Within opportunities, so if you think about the process of building towards a professional services engagement with a customer, that process begins by identifying a piece of work that we want to get done. So in this particular case, the piece of work that we're going to try and get done is the creation of a project management system, and we're going to implement that for the visual merchandising arm of Snazzy Cards. So I've gone ahead and taken the liberty of creating an example here for us to take a look at. Within the opportunity, we see that the opportunity lives through a few different stages. There's a qualifying stage where Snoopy Brown is being approached and where we're talking about the visual merchandising project management system. We're trying to understand exactly what that system needs to do, who needs to participate, how many people are going to participate. You know, is this going to be something that's just used by a small group of people, or is it going to be used by multiple departments? All of that kind of stuff goes into qualifying. We're going to keep track of all that information in our opportunity summary and in additional detailed areas of the summary. So here we have some information about the current situation, the customer need, the proposed solution. All that kind of information is captured here. Once we have captured the basics, then we'll start trying to figure out, well, what's the work that needs to take place? So I've got here a few different opportunity lines created. So we've recognized that this piece of work to deliver for Snazzy Cards is going to have 5 different phases. Let's go to page 2 so we can see the analysis phase. Go back to page 1, we can see design phase, build phase, implement phase, and warranty phase. So we've come up with a few different things that we need to get done, and even before trying to figure out a quote, we've created a high-level estimate. I'm just going to go ahead and resort these so we can jump into the analysis phase, and I can give you a quick look at that. So in the analysis phase, we're just trying to come up with what we think is a reasonable estimate and trying to contrast that against the customer's prospective budget for this. So we've identified that it'll be about $25,000 for that particular piece. And if we look down through the remaining phases, so B, design phase, that was identified for $60,000, build phase, $75,000, and so on, all the way to the implement and warrant phase. Now, if we are done and we've identified all the things that we need our professional services engagement to contain, we can then move into building a quote. And so when we build a quote, what we're going to do is we're going to add a new quote, and in the quote, we're going to capture all of the different opportunity lines that we had previously identified. So we have analysis, design, build, implement, and warrant. And at this point, we have a choice. We can create individual projects for each of the phases. We can connect the project to just a single line item. So instead of having the 5 different phases broken out this way, we could just have one line item for the whole project, and we can connect that to a detailed project. And in the detailed project, we can actually identify all the tasks that we're going to perform. Based on those choices, then we're going to either roll up the budget, so come up with the extended amount from the individual tasks in the project, or we can just track on and edit the quoted amount directly. So we can either present the customer with a rolled up budget or a top down budget. Now, why would I do A or B? Well, it's possible that this is a new customer and we're trying to make a good impression. So we're effectively coming up with a fixed price effort. So we might set the billing method to fixed price, and we might just provide them a total amount. We also might recognize that our estimate could be lower or higher, and we might be presenting them with a median estimate that we think is most likely, and that estimate may not match exactly what is in the detailed project schedule on the higher or on the lower side. But if we have decided to roll up the project directly, well, then we can actually go down into the individual project, and once it opens up, we'll be able to see the project schedule as it is. And this will be, in our case here, a blank schedule, so we haven't necessarily added anything to it yet. But here's the project, so design phase project. Here's the summary information. Here's the information we've put in as far as estimates, and we can go now into the individual tasks. And we can start building out what the design phase is going to contain. And this is a web-based experience, so you may have some familiarity with Microsoft Project on the desktop, but here we're really just concentrating on a full web-enabled experience. It's pretty quick, it's high fidelity, and it's going to do many of the things that you basically need to do in Project Desktop. So if I skip over here to timeline, for instance, we'll start to see how this looks. I'm just going to go ahead and put in a couple tasks. So first task in the design phase is going to be to review and design user experiences for sales, review and design user experiences for project manager, and review and design user experiences. Oops. We can always make corrections if we mistype something for team members. Okay, correct that. Okay, and we can actually start adding generic resources. So I'm just going to add a business analyst. Actually, I may have to do that from the grid. So let's do this. Sorry. I'm going to go ahead and create the new position over here in the team members area as a generic, and then we will add it to the project. Okay, as soon as it's added the generic resource, you'll notice that it says under bookable resource generic. So it recognizes that this is not a person like myself on the project. And I'll go ahead and go back in the tasks, and I will go ahead and look for business analyst. Okay, and we'll go ahead and add business analyst to each of the 3 tasks that we have here. We will also design reports. And here I'm going to add the generic resource directly from the experience. This will be called report designer. Again, generic resource, role team member, similar to what I put into the team area, and that person's added to design reports. Okay, so I can also start adding things in like what the duration is going to be. I can have a rate associated with generics so that I can roll that information up. All that information then becomes part of the total estimate for this project. But getting back to a little bit of the thoughts in terms of how we can actually schedule this activity. If I click on the information button, and I can do this from any of the views, from the grid, the board, or the timeline, I can go ahead and set a start date. So I think this is going to start in the first full week of January. And the duration for reviewing and designing user experience for sales, we'll probably set that to about 2 days. We're going to say that, yeah, that's about right. I'm just going to show the additional details for a second so you can get an idea of what other information you're able to add. So you can actually add additional pieces of information about this in addition to what you see on the schedule. And we can extend the experience to cover whatever it is that you want to track at a task level. But I'm going to go ahead and accept this as it is. So we have something that's going to take 2 days of duration for the business analyst. And we'll go ahead and add a, well, there won't be any dependencies because this is the first task. Okay. We'll go ahead and switch to the grid view just to see that we can enter this in a different fashion. And I'm going to go ahead and add the column to show dependencies, because I want to be able to show that we can't have the business analyst working on two things exactly simultaneously. So there's going to be a dependency there. The review and design for team members, that's going to take 3 days, and there's going to be a dependency there. The design reports is not going to have a dependency, so it can start as soon as the report designer is available. But I do need to add a column for when it's going to start, so we're going to give some idea of when we think the report designer is going to be able to start working on this. So best information I have is the soonest report designer could start, or any report designer could start, would be the beginning of January. Okay, so once I've done these things, and his work is going to take about 10 days, just to clarify. Once I've done these things, if I go back to my timeline, I'll see what I would expect to see in any kind of a waterfall experience, right? So we have tasks, they're spread against time. We see dependencies between different tasks. We can actually drag and drop anything here. So we can actually extend tasks, make them longer. We can drag them to different dates. I found out that the report designer actually is not available on the 1st. It's not available until the week begins on January 10th. So I could drag and drop that over. And what's cool about this then is that, you know, since the average individual working on their project doesn't necessarily want to see things laid out that way, we can actually go to a board view and we can show just things that are assigned to the different participants. So as the business analyst, I can just concentrate on my list of things. As the report designer, I can concentrate on my list of things. And I can see readily when those things are supposed to happen. Like what am I expected theoretically to be doing and when. So it's great to help support that whole experience around collaboration for the team members. Okay, so once I've actually done all of these things, then, you know, if I completed out either completed out the individual resource assignments, if I were trying to get the most accurate rolled up estimate, or if I just leverage the estimated costs of these individual generic resources, business analyst and report designer, that information can then be brought upwards into the quote. So I'm going to jump back to our quote experience. It may take a second here. I may have jumped around a little too much, so I'm going to go back through the opportunity side just to take us back to where we left off. Okay, so here we are, we're at the design phase, and what I can do here is I can actually import my quote line details directly from my project that I was working on a few moments ago. So if I do that, that's going to show me, you know, what resources and what information are associated, what details are associated with each of the tasks that I've created. Okay, so that's a little bit of a quick overview of how we can do a rolled up estimate. Once we're ready with our, you know, once we have actually been working on our delivery of our project, we'll start to also have time to approve and expenses to approve. Once we approve time and expenses, then that information can be marked as ready to invoice. We're not going to go into a lot of details about that today, but when we, and we can definitely cover that at a different time, but when we approve any time or approve expenses, this allows us to engage with any workflow processes that we want to set up. So we can have a time approval, for instance, where the project manager is the first approver, then the next approver might be the resource manager who owns the resource so that they know what their people are working on. And finally, once the resource manager is approved, then the project manager can actually mark the time ready for invoicing. That then would kick off a process for the time information and any expense information to be thrown over to accounting so that invoices can be sent. So this has just been a really rapid clip example of what's new in project operations. Hopefully you've gotten some ideas here as to how this might be useful in your organization. We always appreciate questions. We're always happy to dive into specific examples. Generally speaking, we recognize that these systems can be complex. So please do let us know if there are questions that you have or if there are things that you want to do in order to get more familiar with the new features of project operations. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and switch back to our closing slide, and we'll wrap it up for today.